Ho, 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 ho! Warhammer fans, it's yet another installment of the legendary series of the Andy and Rem show. It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show on a Tuesday night. It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show for your home delight. We're talking about Age of Sigmar and everything else that is cool. We're talking about Warhammer fantasy. It's easy to learn the rules. I said it's the Andy and Remington Steel Show on a Tuesday night.
It certainly is, ladies and gentlemen. Episode 71, to be precise. We're zooming along at quite an old rate in the episode numbers now, Mr. Remington. It's not going to be that long before we're celebrating episode 100. Think about what a momentous occasion that's going to be.
Now, while I was just performing the live intro, and I noticed on the screen there appeared a blue manticore. And I noticed that last week. What's all that about?
Anyone who knows anything about the Wargaming YouTube community should know that is Jeff the Chimera. Anyone who doesn't know who Jeff is should probably be watching more videos on Dreddy's channel. Because he is a celebrity in his own right. He's almost on our kind of status. Jeff the Chimera. I'm surprised you aren't familiar with his work, Mr. Remington.
No. Do you know what? And I can't help laughing because next to your screen, I have my PC screen with Warhammer Total War on it. And I'm locked in a deadly conflict with Heinrich Kemmler. And his avatar is on the screen next to your face. And you do look remarkably similar.
Now, we were just talking about this before we went on the air, but allegedly you leave that game running in the background. Is that what your claim is?
Yeah, I leave the computer on my brand new, souped up Alienware computer running everything on insane specs.
So you allegedly just leave it running. However, when I looked at your Steam profile and saw that you'd been playing that game for 36 hours in the first 2 days of owning it, then I'm not sure I was convinced that you'd left it running. I think you were actually playing it long into the night.
I did play it until 5:30 in the morning, and that, I can't remember what day that was on, but I've been back at work since Monday, and mentally I'm refreshed, but physically I'm downtrodden. This game is so absorbing, it gets to you. And I started out as the dwarves and really, really enjoying it, and I'm locked in the Badlands in a big epic war with Grimgor Ironhide, and I keep killing him, and he keeps kind of coming back because he's a legendary lord with even bigger armies. And to the north, I'm just started foolishly, just like Hitler did, a war on two fronts. And I'm fighting Manfred von Carstone's vampire counts, and I can't kill them. They're really hard to beat. There's just endless waves of zombies and skeletons. And
waves, multiple fronts.
Yep. So I got some catapults, and I've just developed some cannons, and just basically shooting the crap out of them. And then some fellbats came and killed my artillery.
Sounds just like 8th edition to me.
Yeah, it's wicked, man. You know what? It's taking me back to 8th edition and big blocks of troops, and I do kind of miss that. But I'm getting my fix through this game.
Well, there you go. Now, I think we've left it long enough. Let's see who's in the chat tonight, shall we? On the fabled active users list, because it's quite a packed house, as usual. We have Andreas Goodmanson, Andrew Wade, Bazooka J Rambo, Dark Adrenaline, Demon _Lizard _From _Outer _Space, Fake Near, Gloom Ready Gaming, Graham Rig, JP Morris, Lee Cunningham, Mark Harvey, Mickey Genvarog, Love God. Some chump named Remington Steele popped up in there a minute ago and spelt his own name wrong. Sebastian Blau, Thomas Washk, YouTube Newbie, and Was Gob. So do you have an excuse for spelling your name incorrectly? I think you spelt it like, what was it, Remifgen or something?
Possibly,
oh, there it is, Remftum.
It could be because I was holding a guitar, a microphone, having headphones on, and reaching over to type with my wrong hand.
Well, if the people are going to buy that, they'll buy anything, won't they? So we have got plenty to sink our teeth into this week. So let's have a look, shall we? Without any further ado. So here we go. This is where we're starting this week, the new releases section. Nothing too revolutionary here. We've already looked at Mr. Lord Veritant, who I actually own now, by the way, and he's downstairs. He's been primed. He's just waiting to come back up here and be engoldened, shall we say.
You know, Andy, I've never seen you so, up to date with actually buying models for an army.
Well, once I'd looked over the rules, and this is actually leading into our main topic for the day, which we'll get to soon. But when I looked at his rules, first of all, I wasn't particularly blown away because he didn't have a huge amount of spells. However, then I realised what's the one thing that does me in every time I play the Stormcast? And it's usually, because they've got really good armour saves, so it's usually mortal wounds. What puts mortal wounds on me more than anything else? Probably Arcane Bolt. So what's the one thing that the Stormcast lack? And it's being able to unbind spells, which is what he brings. So I'm thinking with him in there, I'll be unstoppable.
I still haven't had a battle against your Sigmarines on them dragon horsey things.
No, you haven't faced the old Dracoths yet, have you?
No.
I'm sure you're looking forward to that.
Yeah, I can see there on the new releases that they're finally going to put out that battle mat. And seeing as I haven't received my one that was promised, perhaps
well, that's the Warhammer 40,000 City Ruin battle mat, but there is a Khorne one as well, which isn't on here.
Oh, is that available?
I'm not sure if it's actually available yet. I haven't seen it on the website.
Oh, well.
But this is still classed as a new release. The combat gauge and rangefinder for only £30 for those two accessories. Can't beat that price. The hero bundle.
You can beat that price if you just go to a DIY shop.
You don't have to try very hard to beat that price, actually. Hero bundle here, 5 heroes for £35. If you happen to play more than one of those armies, then it's a very good purchase if you don't already own the hero. There's a lot of savings to be made there, because really you're just effectively paying for 2 of them, pretty much. So pretty damn good. And apart from that, there isn't that much in the new release section. However, we have heard whispers and seen images from upcoming White Dwarves and so on.
Ooh, really?
So let's have a look. First of all, Hero Basing Kit.
Oh, that's mega.
So
that's awesome, man.
Just a big pile of bases in different sizes for Age of Sigmar.
What a cool idea.
Which one of them? Which one's catching your eye?
Ooh. That one that looks like a dectagonal octagonal thing. I don't know the word, but it's got lots and lots of sides.
The dectagonal octagonal.
Yeah. That looks interesting.
Don't have any clue which one that would be.
The red one in the middle.
Are you talking about that one?
Yeah, how would you describe that?
I certainly wouldn't call it that.
I like that. I like the skull one.
I like the more flat ones. I'm not sure about these pillars, although I suppose they would be good if you've got like a Skaven assassin perched up there, or some kind of elf with a bow.
I've seen better bases that have pillars on from other companies for sure, but I like that skull one. You could make that into just like a skull filled with blood, and like stick a vampire.
I quite like this one. That's quite nice and flat as well. That'd be good for a Dracoth Lord, for instance.
Oh, okay. What, riding over a tomb of someone? It's not very respectful, is it?
Well, it might not be an actual tomb. It might be a fallen piece of masonry that just happens to look like a tomb.
And land on the exact same size as the hammer.
Yes.
What about that tree? Can we zoom in on the tree?
Can we zoom in on the tree? Let's find out.
I want more.
There we go.
Okay, what is it?
It looks like a tree. The problem I have with this box, I don't think we don't actually know the price yet, unless anyone has seen the price, in which case they should let us know immediately. But my issue would be that a lot of them don't really tie together, in my view.
I would hope it's the same price as the other base boxes, which was, what, 20 quid, was it?
Yeah, really you would want this if you play multiple armies, because you wouldn't use all of these on the same army, would you? You wouldn't want your Stormcast standing on a pile of skulls. Can you hear those fireworks outside?
No, I heard a pop. Okay, that's cool.
Well, yeah, some chump decided to start a firework display just before we went on the air.
What about the spiky one on the left? How do you...
I think that spike is kind of tilted backwards.
Oh, I was going to say...
You can stand at the front.
That would be quite painful, wouldn't it?
It would be quite difficult. These ones look a bit fiddly and weird as well, don't they?
Actually, yeah. What? No, you could have someone like flying off the end of it. right? It's like the White Dwarf figure, isn't it? He's standing on something like that.
Yeah, some of them are a bit much. I like the flat ones. These ones here in the middle. Not sure about that one. Not sure about all these.
Now
but
look at the bottom one again. See the spiky bits coming out the bottom? That's a new thing, isn't it?
that one.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
I wonder if that limits how many models you can get in base contact with them.
Maybe it's like or it's a go faster spike.
You stop putting spikes out at the edge of your bases to stop enemies getting close enough to fight. There you go. It's like the kind of strategy you'd see in Robot Wars, isn't it? Also,
I like that.
These are apparently coming back.
Oh, brilliant. I like
the Mage Wrath Throne and the Balewind Vortex, just small, cheap pieces of terrain. Apparently, they're being re-released, according to the grapevine.
Right. When you say cheap, what are you saying?
Well, someone was suggesting in the region of £10.
No. Never.
That's what I was thinking.
No, it'll be 25.
I don't think it'll be 25 because they're not that big.
Are they not?
No, this one, if you think about the size of this, a Stormcaster probably fill like that much space on top of it.
Okay.
So it's not very big. I don't know whether it's £10 or whether it's been confirmed at that price, but if it is, that's pretty good for that.
That throne, you could like chop the top off, so it's just like the throne bit, and then make your own dwarf warrior sat on a throne being held up by people, dwarves even. Yeah.
Bazooka J Rambo says that they are definitely £10, in which case that's quite a good deal, isn't it?
I'm going to get that then. So what do you do with the whirlwind one? Do you like put the figure on top of it?
Yep. Why not? Swirly goodness. And who doesn't want to sit on a throne on top of gigantic skulls? Those dragony horse things there, they actually look a bit like Lego horses, don't they?
Yeah. You could put a Sigmarite warrior on the tornado, and then he could be that celestial prime, couldn't he? Without you having to pay £50.
Although it does have skulls in it. If you're thinking about making a Nagash and you don't want him swirling so much, you could just have him on one big swirl instead.
Yeah, old Nagash. Put old Nagash on there, and then he might be the right size.
The one issue with that would be with the weight on top, and this thing is probably plastic. And I don't know whether that'd hold the weight of an old Nagash. Those things, if you swing them in a sock, they would do some serious damage. So
no, I don't think they're going to be £10. Come on, nothing at Games Workshop's for £10. Maybe
apparently it's been confirmed as £10.
No, I don't believe it. And maybe they're really small and they fit in a blister pack.
Well, I don't think they're quite that small.
You know,
there are pictures of them all over Facebook if you want to go and have a look at them compared to miniatures as well.
See, I always knew Games Workshop was like a sleeping giant, and all these like other companies were like nibbling away like fishes, nibbling with their new ideas, and it's like GW's woken up in the last year, and it's like they're just swiping away the competition and thunderfooting them. You know what I mean? With giant stomps. Got
constant
hero bases.
Nibblage.
Blam! Here's 4 boxes of different bases, and there's a hero specialized one. You know what I mean? New scenery, blam.
Well, GW have started leading the way a lot more in various things. For example, their live event streaming, which other companies are now trying to imitate. Okay. So spending so long being that the way you used to describe it, like the old Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and you never actually got to see the Oompa Loompas or any of the chocolate being produced. They used to have that kind of vibe going on. Now they're opening the gates a lot more to people, aren't they? It's a lot more accessible, and they're getting a jump on other companies with some of these innovations that they've been putting forward, particularly in the social media realm recently.
So imagine, Andy, if me and you had won golden tickets and we were one of the first peoples, which character would you be from the Chocolate Factory getting in there?
That's a tough one.
Would you be the guy with the guns?
I don't know about that. I definitely wouldn't be Charlie, because I remember he used to eat cabbage all the time, didn't he?
I bet his granddad was like trumping the whole time while he was in the factory. That's why in the original film there's that whole scene with the bubbles, isn't there? That's Grandpa.
There
cabbage coming back.
There's
Veruca Salts, maybe, but a male version.
I don't know. I don't know if I really match up with any of the characters in that particularly.
No, Mike TV. That's you, isn't it? Mike TV.
What about you?
I would be Willy Wonka.
Would you?
Yeah.
Okay, then. If people in the audience would like to suggest how Mr. Remington might meet an untimely demise inside Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, then let us know. Okay, now we've got more things to look at. Now, you insisted we take a quick look at this, so we're going to do that right now, actually.
What's that? What we got?
Here we go. So this is what you wanted to look at.
Oh yeah, these. Now this was doing the rounds on the Facey books, and I was initially tomfooled into thinking this was a new release for Age of Sigmar, but it's not. It's a 40k release, but don't they look very similar to Warriors of Sigmar?
Well, they're a little bit more ornate, less big flat panels on them, and then when you really look close, you can tell, yeah, they actually are just golden space marines, extra fancy. Someone tells me these are possibly the kind of space marines that would guard the Emperor in 40k. And I don't know whether they've been supposed to look this way the whole time, so you can't accuse them of ripping off Stormcast Eternals, and Stormcast Eternals were really just ripping off them or not, or if they are a completely new concept. I'm sure someone in the audience would know.
We see the problem with these guys is that their shoulder pads are so heavy they can't lift their arms up past their waists.
Well, Space Marines do love a good shoulder pad.
Yeah, I know, but they're only going to attack your legs, these guys, with like sweeping blows. Because the weight of it, they look really awkward.
Well, they're taking the entire weight of the universe on their shoulders, so they need some pretty big shoulder pads to carry it, don't they?
Well, if I was around in 40k times, I'd be having million cred ideas, and I would put jetpacks on them.
Well, maybe there are some of them out there with jetpacks. Who knows? Okay, so shall we move on to our main topic for today?
Okay.
Now, I believe you've done hours and hours of tireless research on this topic as well, since I told you that we were going to cover it yesterday. So that is heroes in Age of Sigmar. Which ones can you just not do without? Which hero would you be essentially committing wargamer suicide by leaving home without? Which one is always in your force? So the reason I got to thinking about this was because I was thinking that perhaps the brand new Knight Veritant might actually become a must-have with his ability to unbind spells, especially as more and more armies are released and new, incredibly potent spells pop up on the scene. You imagine magic's only going to become more and more of an issue as the spells get better and better, so the ability to unbind them becomes more important. So I think he could become must-have. So the word was put out to the people of Internet Land, asking which heroes are must-have in their forces, but we're going to start with us. So, Mr. Remington.
Yeah.
What have you unearthed in your hours of tireless research long into the night?
Well, as you know, I actually have two jobs, apart from being an A-list celebrity Warhammer presenter. But despite that, I managed to unearth two precious heroes that I wouldn't bring together because they're from different factions. But do you want me to tell you them?
I think that would be a good idea, yes.
All right, my first one is for my ogre army. Do they still called ogres? Ogres, yes, my ogre army. And this guy is the Icebrow Hunter. Why do I like this guy? Well, one, he's a bit of a comedy character. And I've done a really nice conversion, because I don't really like the GW model, but my one's pretty cool. It looks like an ogre Santa Claus, and he's got a big spear harpoon thing. And talking about the harpoon, that's my favorite ability. And what's special about the hunter is that he can run, right? And he's got a good, decent movement of 6. He can run and fire or throw his javelin spear hunter thing.
And as has been discovered, he can actually run backwards and use that momentum to throw his spear with more power.
He's like a Fatima Whitbread with a beard. He's like a big javelin thrower. And when he runs, his range goes to 18 inch.
So you move forward, run backwards, unleash the javelin.
Mm-hmm. And when you're running and doing this mighty throw, you do D6 wounds, which I think is wicked. A really nice little character assassinator. The only problem is you've got to roll a good dice roll. You have to roll a 4 and a 3, and it's -1 rend. So I think that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. Not bad for chiseling down wounds off the big monsters that maybe don't have the best save.
And he's not bad in combat. He's got 4 attacks, 4+, 3+ to wound, and they do 2 damage each. So, he's probably going to do maybe between 2 and 4 wounds on average, I'd say. 4 wounds, if you're lucky.
Pretty tasty.
Maybe
Mr.
more.
Denver thinks it's no surprise that you've immediately gone for the character with a big spear. Okay, what else have you got for us?
Oh, what else have I got for you? So he's a particular favourite of mine. I don't think he's popular on the scene, so to speak, because he's not that good, but it's just funny for me. And of course, you can have your saber tusks helping out as well. The other one is, well, it's basically because I just love the model, and I've got my own model of this, and I took my time painting it, and it come out real nice. And that is Araloth for the kind of Sylvaneth / Wood Elves. Free folk. They're called free folk? Can't remember. But yeah, or he's an elf. The Wanderers, yeah, the Wanderers. Araloth is wicked, and he's got his trusty hawk. What else do I like about him? Well, in the End Times books, Araloth had perhaps the most romantic story behind him. He basically goes searching in this like dimension that Alariel has created, where she's hiding all the elves away, so like Nagash and all the Chaos guys can't find it, and Araloth goes wandering in there, and we never hear from him again. It's a kind of romantic tale. I'm hoping one day he'll appear again.
Maybe he's just really, really good at hide and seek, but nobody likes him, so they just start watching TV while he's hiding in the cupboard.
Well, the kind of fluff behind Araloth was he was a kind of a puny wood elf, and something happened to him, and he suddenly became really, really brave. And this bravery gives a boost to troops of his faction, the Wanderers, that is. So in the battle shock phase, they can use his bravery, which is 9. And if they roll a 1 for any of the battle shock tests, then they can immediately pile in an attack as if it was the combat phase. That could be pretty cool. He's got his trusty hawk.
Is his hawk actually on a yo-yo string, as has been suggested in the chat?
No, that was an old model. That was an older model. That was. No, this guy isn't, but he's called I can't even say his name. Skyrin. Skyrin's got a sharp beak anyway, and he'll peck out your eye. All right, if you actually look, this is pretty cool.
You're just discovering now. Your hours of tireless research.
No, he gets 1 attack, 18-inch, 4+4+, and does 1 damage. But if you actually get a wound through with Skyrin, that opponent must subtract 1 from any hit roll because they've only got 1 eye. It's been pecked out.
Can you pluck out the other eye as well?
That would be interesting. Because
I think we've actually looked at this before, and I think we had this discussion, but I don't remember what the conclusion was.
I think they should minus another 1 from their hit roll if that happens. He also has 1 more special rule, the favour of the goddess. Araloth bears the favour and love of his goddess. You can re-roll any failed save roll for Araloth. And he has a saving throw of 5. It's pretty cool. Not bad. He's got 5 wounds. He's also got a magical bow. The Bow of Lauren. 20-inch range, 3 attacks. 3 to hit, 4 to wound. -1 rend, doing 1 damage. So he can, maybe get a couple of shots off as well. Yeah, I like Araloth. He's, he's a proper hero.
He's got a lot going on by the sounds of it.
Yeah.
An interesting story to boot. Well, the 3 I came up with, 2 of them were suggested on various Facebook groups that I put the word out. So I'm going to save those 2 for a moment until we get to them. The one that didn't come up that I think is a must-have in any dwarf army or Dwarden army would be Belagar Ironhammer.
Oh, God,
and that's because, come on, he has got to be the coolest. As far as the coolest looking dwarf goes, he's got a little mask. He's got it looks like a tiny hammer, but then you see the rest of the handle and realize it's not that tiny. He's standing kind of majestically atop that giant stone, and his rules aren't too bad either. So, of course, he's got the command ability where he's going to allow all the Dwarden units to get an extra attack on one particular enemy unit, which is good when you're all surrounding one thing. And then, of course, he can choose to attack twice, once during the game, which you always love when he does that. That's your favourite part of Mr. Belagart Ironhammer. Actually, your favourite part is when he halves incoming wounds as well. You're a big fan of that one, aren't you?
I know how to deal with this guy. Don't deal with him. Don't get into combat with this guy. And he is cool. He's ice cool. He was ice cool when I put my Thunder Tusk quite close to him and froze him to death without even having to get into combat. That was cool.
It would take you much longer than usual to freeze him to death, though, with him halving incoming wounds. So you would have to actually use that 6 instant wound ability, which I still can't believe exists. You would have to do that twice on him to kill him.
Yeah, he's a tough nut to crack, that guy.
He certainly is. Now we're going to go on to some of the suggestions that came in from various people around the community. So I'm going to screen share and we're actually going to have a look at some pictures of them, and then we'll see their war scrolls while we're at it as well. So the Cogsmith was suggested, and I would go along with this. This was one of the ones that I was going to suggest. So for a start, he can repair war machines, which is always handy, provided it's not the crew being killed. And of course, all the war machines pretty much have some kind of bonus when he's in range. For example, the cannon can just fire an extra shot, I think. Or I think the grudge thrower can fire an extra shot. The organ gun can re-roll its can it fire or not roll. They all have something that just makes them extra tasty just from being near to this guy. So if you can put him around 2 or 3 war machines, he's definitely worth his weight in gold. And then when someone's getting closer, of course, you can kind of charge him out there to hold them up potentially as well.
Now, Andy, I'm surprised you chose... I'm not surprised you chose dwarves, and not really surprised you chose like an artillery guy. But why didn't you pick Grim Burloxen?
Well, he was another suggestion as well.
Yeah, because he can fix war machines that are damaged.
Well, this guy can as well.
Really?
But Grim Burloxen also adds 6 inches to the range on any shooting unit as well. So he is extra tasty, but of course he doesn't have a scroll on the GW website to look at, unfortunately.
Okay.
Because he's one of the old named characters that eventually they would like us to forget about, but people never will, because they have awesome rules. So Cogsmith, very, very, very juicy. Anyone that suggested him, you're onto a winner there. You can't take dwarf and war machines without him, in my opinion. He's just too damn good. Stick him within an inch, and you're good to go. Next, this was suggested as well, the Orruk War Chanter.
Now, when this model first come out, we thought it was like a air traffic controller, didn't we? But it's actually turned out to be a real favourite among people.
It has. People do like this guy. So, shall we find out why people like him? Well, each time you make a hit roll of 6 for him, you can make 1 additional attack. Well, whoop-de-doo. However, Frenzy of Violence, I think this might have something to do with the fact people have chosen him as their must-have model. Pick 1 Iron Jaws unit within 10 inches. Add 1 to all hit rolls made for that unit in the following combat phase. And as you know, you can get quite a lot of attacks for Iron Jaws units.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. What else? Is he any good in combat himself?
He's all right. He's only doing 1 damage with each attack. But
yeah.
apparently, someone considers him a must-have. But there are people in the chat now saying that he's terrible, actually.
Right. Well, is that his only ability? Has he got another one?
No, that's it. Are you a bit underwhelmed that someone would say he's a must-have?
Well, I'm surprised he's not got any boots on. I'm just looking at his feet there.
That guy doesn't have any boots on either.
No, they've got all this armor, but they forgot to get shoes. Oh well.
Sebastian Blau says he's the worst of the new Orruks.
That's harsh.
Stu Gibson says the War Chanter is great rules-wise, but the model kind of sucks. The spiky air traffic controller. That's how he's been described by many an Orruk enthusiast.
I think it's a clever model. That is. You could model that on its front and make like a super orc, a super flying orc. Right? You put a cloak on him, There you go. But also the bones that he's holding aloft, it look like 2 feet. The feet of Gorg, or Morg, or Gork and Morg. It's pretty cool. They look like they could be also like flippers. Maybe that's his shoes. He's taking his shoes off and he's waving them in the air like clogs, which is actually an Arab insult. You know, if you throw your shoe at someone, it's meant to be like the worst insult. So,
who throws a shoe? Honestly,
it's kind of a cool thing, isn't it? If someone really annoys you, take your shoe off and throw it at them.
Right, so we're going to drop the screen share for a second because another one that was suggested isn't on the GW website, but it is in the app, which I'm loading up right now on my phone with the new search feature that the app has, which is very, very useful. So, this one was suggested multiple times, virtually by 50% of the community. It suggested the Blood Secreta, which you have used before, that being the poor bloodbound guy.
Rubbish, man.
Well, you think he is because he's only movement 4, and in that one game that you had with him, he was lagging behind the rest of your troops, but his abilities are actually incredibly tasty. So I'll just go through them now. So in your hero phase, you can declare that this model opens the Portal of Skulls. If you do until your next hero phase, you may not move the model, but it has the following abilities. So, the Portal of Skulls. Loathsome Sorcery. Both sides must reroll successful casting rolls for wizards within 18 inches of this model before unbinding rolls are made. So if you're playing Bloodbound, you probably don't have any spells to cast anyway, so it's just going to affect the opponent. So it makes stopping spells very, very, very easy there. Then, Rage of Khorne as well. This ability affects all Khorne units in your army within 18 inches of the model, so 18 inches again. He's got a mammoth range on him. When they attack, add 1 to the attack characteristic of all melee weapons used by these units. Also, you don't have to take battle shock tests for any Khorne unit within 18 inches.
Now, you going to carry on, or can I pick the bones out of that one?
You may.
Now, any Bloodbound army player would know that you don't have much shooting in that army. So you're basically screwed unless you charge really quickly at the enemy. So all your frontline troops, as in your Blood Warriors and your Reavers, are going to be charging forward. And very quickly they're going to be out of range of the Blood Secreta, who's hobbling along with his movement 4 and a giant useless banner.
Hobbling along, you can always run him, though. Run him up for a turn or two, get him towards the middle of the table, plant his banner. If you have 2 of them, 1 on each half of the table, you're going to be covering basically everything, aren't you?
Well, not if your enemy, right, just decides to like stay where they are, and you're like having to go full pelt towards them. Otherwise, you're going to get shot down. Unless you want to move at the same rate as the Blood Secreta, at his running rate. You know, by the time you get to the enemy, it's just going to be the Blood Secreta left, like, you know what I mean, on his knees, holding aloft this banner, peppered with arrows.
So you're not convinced on the old Blood Secreta then?
I think if it's like a close quarter game, if it's tight knit, and people are coming at you from all sides, yeah, he could be pretty cool.
There he is on the old app.
I mean, Stu Gibson's out in the audience. He's a big time Chaos player. Let's see what he says. Stu,
yeah, anyone in the audience who wants to give Mr. Remington some advice for getting his Blood Secreta into range to use his abilities and all his troops not to have completely disappeared over the hill and far away, then give him some advice now, because pretty much the whole community is firmly behind the Blood Secreta. They think he's must-have. Most people have 2 of them in their armies, apparently, and you're not sold, so you must be missing something.
Well, Stu said, Arno Rem, the Blood Secreta is the most valuable player of a Bloodhound army. Why? Run him turn 1, plant it turn 2, behind your Reavers and Warriors.
Well, and if you have 2 as well, if you squash all your army together in the middle, you push them up, turn 2, one of them plants his banner, the other one carries on walking, because it's only the unit within 18 inches. So only one model from the unit has to be within 18 inches, remember, not the entire unit. You have another one running up with them, so they just keep moving forward. He moves up with them, and then that one plants his banner when you're further up the table. The other one unplants his banner and starts moving up. They kind of tag in and out, working their way up the table that way. So you're always getting the benefit of that no battle shock.
All sounds so good in theory, doesn't it?
Well, you'll have to try and put it into practice. You had so much fun painting your Bloodbound, then you had one game, and you thought, you know what, I had one difficult slog towards the Stormcaster, I'm just going to call it quits now.
Pretty much. Hey, has anyone out there ever wondered what that is behind me? Can you see where my finger is? It's pointing up at that. You know what it is, Andy, don't you?
Yes.
Well, if you're wondering what that is a certificate. It's an award for the best Age of Sigmar show on the internet from the Warhammer YouTubers community.
And we're hoping to win further awards this year. Unless they completely screw us over again by only allowing each show or channel to win one award, because I'm sure we would have won multiple last year.
Multiple, but they made it so you couldn't win more than one.
Yep, those scoundrels.
Now, Oric Lovegod says Remington loses a lot. That's actually not true. I've actually probably beat Andy more than he's beat me.
With the Stormcast, you probably have, because I had a very, very less than favourable list, shall we say, which was really just my entire Stormcast model collection. And someone actually commented on one of our battle reports recently, one of the slightly older ones, saying, look, these battle reports are fun and everything, but I'm sick of seeing such an uncompetitive Stormcast list. Get some of these, and then listing all the things I should be buying.
Wow.
Yeah, some people are pretty hardcore. So next time you face the Stormcast, I think you might have a bit more trouble with all the Dracothy goodness in there. And as if that wasn't bad enough, I'm adding a second unit of Liberators. Yeah.
You've got these really consistent, Andy. I've got to hand it to you.
Well, these ones aren't quite finished yet, but of course I've got one finished next to them to use as inspiration, so they'll look kind of like him when they're finished.
Which one's finished?
The one that's finished is this one here.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, okay, they look fab, man. Yeah, well done, Andy.
So people can probably tell that I haven't finished or really begun much of the old. Let's get it to focus properly, shall we? Let's get really, really close. It's going to focus any second. Let's move my head behind one of them so it doesn't focus on me. It keeps wanting to focus on my eyeball through the armpit.
You see,
is it giving up now? I think it's given up on focusing now. But you get the idea.
Now, if I worked for Games Workshop about a year ago, maybe longer than that, I would have come up with this concept. Let's begin a brand new game and everything's on round bases. And then a year after everyone's changed to round bases, we're going to release some separate round bases. And then 3 months after that, we're going to release some hero round bases. This is why, you've already rebased everything. That's so frustrating, isn't it?
Well, there are new armies coming out all the time and new heroes being released that you could use for these bases.
Yeah, it's quite a depressing thought, isn't it? When if you ever had to rebase an army, Andy?
I have not.
Yeah, well, there you go then. It's not. It feels like you're breaking a miniature in two.
And some of them you actually are. If they're stuck with plastic glue onto the base, and you have to kind of saw them off.
Yeah.
On the lowest possible point, and you lose a tiny piece of their foot each time you do that. So they get shorter and shorter in height every time.
Yeah. Now, Andy, earlier today you asked me if I was going to do what the hell was that.
I did.
What the hell is that? And I have responded to your call with perhaps the most brilliant, enterprising what the hell is that ever. Is it time?
Well, we can certainly take a break from looking at the must-have heroes and do what the hell is that right now, just to kind of keep the show crazy and unpredictable so the audience don't know what's going to hit them next. They don't know where the next blow is coming from.
What the hell is that? 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 Oh, Andy and Remington, no.
Right, show it to us then, Mr. Remington.
Actually, Andy doesn't know, but Remington does. Now, I was trawling through some blogs and whatnot, and I came across a picture from 40 years ago, and it was the opening day of Games Workshop and White Dwarf magazine. And that has inspired today's What the Hell Is That, as well as the heroes of Age of Sigmar and beyond. So the picture you're going to see features nine models plus two bonus points if you recognize the two people that aren't age. Actually, they are kind of like Age of Sigmar heroes. Let's get on with it. Here's the picture. Everyone, what the hell is hold on, actually, why not do this? Okay, here we go. What the hell is that? Screen share.
We can't see it yet.
It's easy.
Inspired by something 40 years ago, so Remington was barely a teenager back then.
Here we go. This is the queue of Geeks. And I can see a few familiar faces in there. Can you, Andy?
I can see one or two familiar faces, yes.
Now, if you'd like me to zoom in, I can do that. I will only zoom in twice, though, on request. Okay?
Well, I think you should zoom in a teensy bit now.
Okie dokie. How is that?
Right, I think that's better. People should have got a nice clear look at all the various heads on top of the crowd members. It's going to be very difficult for anyone to get all 9, surely.
Well, the highest wins, including the bonus points as well. Let's look at this. Look at this wonderful shop. It's actually number 1 on the street.
Number 1, Remcon Avenue.
Exactly. Number 1, Remcon. Games Workshop, the science fiction and fantasy specialist, and White Dwarf magazine. How cool is that? So check out these people in the queue, these characters, these people on the edge of society, queuing up for their models and magazines. I think I spot a girl in the queue. It might be a boy with long hair. I can't quite tell because it was the 1970s. So have you found any, Andy? Seen any?
I found many of them. I wouldn't be able to tell you who all of them are exactly. But I'm sure someone in the audience is ferociously tapping away at their keyboard now, making a note of every single character on there.
Now, Andy, you're going to have to read them out because as I'm screen sharing, I can't tell you what people are saying. But I can zoom in if you want. Zoom in a bit more.
So you can tell me how many each person has got correct. So first things first, Andreas Goodmanson says Remington, the Green Knight, Darkothian Chieftain, Ogre Maneater, Signals the Magnificent.
Sigvald the Magnificent.
Well, he said Signals, but I'm going to assume he probably meant Sigvald.
Okie dokie. Is that it?
Yep.
You've got to be a bit more specific if you can. If you just say yes, that's a Skaven warrior. That's not good enough.
Okay, Sebastian Blau says...
I'll give you 4, though. I'll give you 4 marks for that, mate.
Ding! Sebastian Blau says the Green Knight, a Chaos Sorcerer, a Squig-Riding Goblin, an Orc, a Skaven, an Ogre Maneater, and a Vampire Lord.
Thanks for answering, but this is exactly what I mean. You've got to come with names, my friend. Come with names. A squig on a goblin isn't good enough. I'll give you 3 points for that.
Ding! Andreas Goodmanson again. Remington, the Green Knight, Darkothian Chieftain, Ogre Maneater, Sigvald the Magnificent, and Celestial Wizard.
4 marks.
Ding! Mickey Genver says Vultan, Dark Oath Champion, Games Day Chaos Sorcerer, Khalida, Grimgore, Ogre Maneater, Female.
6 points. Well done.
Ding, ding, ding. Fluffy Dread says the Green Knight, Female Maneater, Goblin Warboss on Giant Squig, Queen Neferata, Games Day Chaos Sorcerer, Rem, Gromgore, Darkoth Chieftain, and Sigvald.
That is 8 points.
Ding, 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 ding. It can barely get better than that. Let's see.
Now, look, no one's mentioning this guy here. Just there. Looking a bit kind of suspicious there. That man there. And also, look very carefully at these long-haired people waiting patiently in the queue.
Yeah, there's someone blending in towards the back, isn't there?
That guy's fairly good looking into. Look at him. Oh.
Someone at the back who looks very natural there, but his head's a bit on the large side.
He looks like he actually was there with that 70s hairdo there.
Okay, we've got another guess here. This is from Stu Gibson. Volton, Goblin Big Boss on Squig, Khalida, Games Day Chaos Sorcerer, Auric Warrior, Skaven Grey Seer, Ogre Maneater, Green Knight, Dark Oath Chieftain, Rem.
8 points.
Ding, 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 ding. Andreas Goodmanson, Volton, Goblin Big Boss on Squig, Khalida, Games Day Chaos Sorcerer, Auric Warrior, Skaven Grey Seer, Ogre Maneater, Green Knight, Dark Oath Chieftain, Rem, and Andy.
9 points. That's 9 out of 11.
I'm going to ding myself out soon if I keep doing those dings after everyone, so I think we'll leave it at that. But we've got 9 so far. Can anyone beat that? Or is Andreas Goodmanson going to reign supreme? I think let's put a time limit on this. If no one can name more than that in the next minute, we'll have to move on. Because time grows short, my children.
Let's do one more zoom for you all. I'll start from the left and zoom over to the right. So we have a guy looks like he's in the rock band Europe singing Final Countdown. Got a guy there can't keep his hat on. This guy is not very happy. Maybe something smells bad. This guy is probably the culprit of that smell and he's looking away. This guy just looks a little bit creepy. This guy looks angry. This guy doesn't care. This guy's all right because he's got a big helmet on. This guy's just pretty cool. And this guy's reading a book.
A cool book, no doubt. Okay, here we go. Fluffy Dread, the Green Knight, Female Maneater, Goblin Warboss on Giant Squig, Queen Neferata, Games Day Chaos Sorcerer, Rem, Gromgor, Dark Oath Chieftain, Sigvald, Rem, Fluffy Dread, and Spinetail.
Ooh. What's this? Is this Spinetail? I'll give you 9 points for that. I'll give you 10 points for that. Go on then, I'll give you 10.
Oh,
10 points.
We've got Fluffy Dread again. I think this will have to be the last guess now, just to see if this can get any higher. Green Knight, Female Maneater, Goblin Warboss and Giant Squig, Queen Khalida, Games Day Chaos Sorcerer, Rem, Grimgor, Dark Oath Chieftain, Sigvald, Andy, and Spinetail.
Yes, well done.
Fluffy Dread is the winner.
Fluffy Dread is the winner.
Ding, 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 ding.
A nice roast chicken dinner.
There we go. So Fluffy Dread will go onto our list of potential prize winners for next time we actually have a prize to give away.
Well done, guys. And if you if you do want to see the reveal of that, I have made one. I'll just keep. Is
it on the Facebook page by any chance, or the Facebook group, should I say? That would be a good place to post it. I think it would draw people into the Facebook group.
Okay, I'll do that. But there you go. There's the reveal. Nice. Yes. Lovely. Chaos Sorcerer from Games Day, Grimgor Ironhide, Volton, who got killed off in the end times, Female Maneater Ogre, Dark Oath Chieftain. I can't remember the name of that one, but we're going to call him Spinetail. Queen Khalida. The diet there. Maybe a bit too. She's eating too few beetles. And yeah, big boss on a squig.
Yes, so cool. We'll make sure that goes up on the Andy and Rem Show Facebook group as well for people that want to have a closer look at all those classic miniatures. Now then, a couple more pieces of business to see to. We're going to have a quick whiz through some more of these must-have heroes, and then we're going to go on to the next epic installment in the Great Adventure. That being the Forest of Rem.
I have a deadline. I have a deadline to meet.
We're being quick. We must be quick, says the guy that put 9 miniatures in What the Hell Is That? Okay, here we go. So Lord Castellant, who is apparently a must-have because of his ability that puts +1 on the armor save of a unit, which is quite invaluable because you don't have to roll to cast it, unlike the Arcane or the Mystic Shield, should I say. So that technically makes it even better. So I would say that's a big thumbs up on him, although he is £3 more than the Lord Veritant. You don't get anything more for it, so that works against him. The Necromancer, who is a mainstay of the Undead Army, who really is kind of essential because he is a death wizard, which is required to summon a lot of units. So you need to have Necromancers in there to do all your summony goodness. So yes, I think we can agree that he is rather important, can't we?
Uh-huh.
Next one that people loved was the Skull Grinder with his big, flaming, swinging hammerhead on a chain. Now, what would you actually call that weapon where it's like a hammerhead but on the end of a chain?
I would call that impossible to lift.
Well, you would, but you don't have the rippling, sinewy muscle that the Skull Grinder has.
What would I call it? I would call it a death hammer? Chain hammer?
Well, what does he call it?
Anvil.
A brazen anvil.
There you
Okay.
go.
Well, there you go. So let's see. Why do people love this guy? So you add +1 to bravery of mortal Khorne units within 6 inches of him, which is nice. Then Altar of Skulls, if a hero or monster is slain by his brazen anvil, the Skull Grinder and all mortal Khorne units in your army within 8 inches are blood blessed for the rest of the game. And if a hit roll for an attack made by a blood blessed model is 4 or higher, make 2 wound rolls rather than 1. So get him killing someone, and then loads of people in the rest of the army suddenly become even more potent in combat. So fling him in there, he kicks butt, then everyone kicks slightly more butt. Then we can agree that's a winner. Skaven Warlord was another one that had a couple of suggestions. So let's see what's so special about him, shall we? Let's go straight to his command ability. So he uses his ability, pick a unit within 13 inches until your next hero phase. All models in that unit make 1 extra attack with each of their melee weapons. Okay, that's okay. And strike and scurry away. After he's attacked in close combat, he can scurry away from retaliation. So roll a dice. On a 4 or more, he can immediately retreat as if it were the movement phase. That's pretty good. Keep him out of harm's way. Flurry of Rusted Steel. Reroll failed hit rolls of 1. And his shield adds +1 to his save, if he has one, against attacks that have damage 1. So he's all right. I'm not blown away by it. But apparently he's a must-have for some people out there. The Keeper of Secrets. Now, we're not even going to go through all these right now because we'll be here all night, but we can safely say he is a beast. When anything's got that much text on its war scroll, you know it's good. Apparently Remington subtly, would it be slinked or slunk away? Slinked away from the computer while no one was looking to get himself a beverage. Disgraceful. And he missed out on all this juicy info that could have helped him in his next stage of Sigmar battle. So the Skink Star Priest. Is this a must-have? So let's see, shall we? He can cast spells. So presumably he can do some summoning as well. You can summon him. I'm not sure whether he can actually do any summoning. It might only be the Slan that can do that. Let's see. So he calls the light of a distant star to the battlefield. Casting value of 6. Pick a unit within 20 inches to be bathed in starlight. If it's a Seraphon, subtract 1 from hit rolls against them. Otherwise, subtract 1 from hit rolls of any attack that the unit makes. If they're demons, they also suffer D3 mortal wounds. That's okay. I can see why this guy's pretty tasty with that ability. I'll give you that. Knight Venator. Now, I do have experience with this guy. And I would say he is definitely not must-have. Because even though on paper his attacks actually look good, I find that his eagle actually does more killing than he does. Because when I use his extra special star-fated arrow once per battle, it never wounds. It always hits because it's on a 2+. And when you're combining that with the Knight Azeros, then you're basically guaranteed to hit with it. But then it always fails to wound on a 3+. Almost every time I use the star-fated arrow, it fails to wound. especially if I'm targeting a monster who would get D6 plus 3 wounds from it. I think the one time it actually did hit a hero, I rolled 1 for the number of wounds, so it still had a wound left after I'd finished. So he's not been very good for me, but I think that's just down to luck. So maybe you could say he must have. The Way Watcher, now he was described as being like a one-man Judicator squad, I think, which are, of course, the Stormcast archers. So let's see why, shall we? 22-inch range, 3+3+, -1 rend, damage 1. But it's his abilities that cause that, pretty much. So opponents subtract 1 from hit rolls against a model with this ability in the shooting phase, so shooting back at him isn't that effective. When he shoots his Waystalker bow, he can choose to make fast shots, precise shots. He can't make both, but he can do either one of these kind of shots. So if it's fast shots, and there's a firework, speaking of shots, so each time you roll a 6 to hit with a fast shot, he can make 1 additional attack, or precise shots. Each time you roll a wound roll of 6, then it has rend of -2 instead of -1. Also, precise shots do double damage. Solitary Marksman, I'd want to hit rolls made for the Way Watcher shooting attacks if it did not move. You probably wouldn't need to, 22-inch range, so you're quite likely to stay still, I would say. And command ability, see but do not be seen. If he uses this ability until your next hero phase, wanderers from your army that are within 18 inches of him gain the Invisible Hunter ability, which is where they're difficult to shoot at. So in a shootout, he is definitely a tasty one to have in there, and I can see why someone would consider him must-have. Lawmaster, apparently, is also a must-have, and he doesn't have many abilities at all. So let's look at the Hand of Glory. So, casting value of 5. If cast, pick a model within 18 inches to your next hero phase. You can reroll failed hit rolls and wound rolls for that model. Doesn't sound that great, really, does it? It's alright. You can reroll failed save rolls in the shooting phase for him. I'm not sold on that one being a must-have, but for someone out there, he is. And I think that is all the War Scrolls we're going to look at right now. You'll be pleased to know, Mr. Remington, you can wake up from your slumber now. Are you awake?
Hello, yep. I was here all along, listening and enjoying that.
So which of those did you particularly agree with? Which of those heroes would you say are must-have for their particular factions?
The organ grinder.
Not the monkey.
The axe cleaver. The anvil. Brass anvil.
That guy.
Swinger. Yeah, he's cool.
Okay, in-depth analysis from Remington there. Okay, it's the one moment that Mr. Remington has been waiting for all week. He wakes up with saliva coating his pillow because he's been having dreams of excitement and adventure in the Forest of Rem.
The Forest of Rem, in the Forest of Rem, where boys become men in the Forest of Rem, like a green-coated glen in the Forest of Rem. It's the Forest of Rem, the Forest of Rem.
Is that it?
Yeah, I just made that up.
Did you really? I would never have guessed. That was lacking a little bit of music, I felt.
Oh.
I think you need a really good, boisterous Forest of Rem theme song for next week.
Mickey James wrote some good lyrics. They must only have the only must have is Rem in the Forest of Rem. That doesn't really rhyme.
Rhyming the same word with itself is frowned upon in the music industry, isn't
it? The only must have gem in the Forest of Rem, where boys become men and men become hens.
You might become a hen if you roll a lot of ones tonight.
And on that note, I have brought my skull dice because I feel like the online dices that I was using kept rolling 3s and 4s and it was a bit boring.
So you want the old skull dice because you want the chance of some 1s and 6s, do you?
You betcha.
Okay, then, just to recap on what happened last week. So the current state of play is that Mr. Remington is out there in the forest. He's been following this map around, which was barely translated because he accidentally killed the translator, I think. So he decided to go for the tower, which turned out to be the Flesh Tower of Slaanesh, where he acquired the Flesh Wand of Slaanesh. And as a result of the great duel, the Duel of Depravity that he undertook, he was rewarded. He's become a champion of Slaanesh who has fitted the flesh wand into the socket where his big toe should be. So he has a really long big toe that is just a flesh wand of Slaanesh. So watch out. If he's walking near to you, watch out for your ankles because they could get prodded and poked by the flesh wand. What else have you got at the moment? You've got a perfectly good mandolin because you found another one during the Duel of Depravity, which you played, strummed away at it, and successfully won the duel. What else do you have?
I have I have a runestone with my name carved.
You lost that actually.
Oh, I don't think I have anything left. I have some clothes.
You do have clothes. You have fine garments, I think now.
Okay. What more could a man need?
A really long big toe and some clothes. What more could a man possibly need? And his trusty mandolin.
And skull dice.
People last week were keen that you would travel to the lake this week because they think you were so depraved that you need to kind of cleanse yourself of all that dirt and sin.
Okay, I'll give it a go. I'll go and wash my soul down by the river.
So you're going to head towards the lake on the map, which is it's kind of in the shape of a pear, kind of. So,
okay.
First of all, I'm going to ask you to roll the dice to see how well your navigation of the map and the forest goes.
Here we go. Remington! 4.
4. In an uneventful journey, Master Remington enters the dark forest, navigating his way towards the lake using the barely translated map. Occasionally almost tripping on a twig, but not quite rolling a 1, and therefore not quite tripping and smashing his face on a rock. Happily strolling through the woods, using the map for reference, until he spies a slight beam of light coming from behind a rock next to the lake. The lake shimmers in the moonlight. What will you do, Mr. Remington? Will you approach the rock, investigate the mysterious beam of light behind it? Will you immediately bathe yourself in the moon-soaked lake? Or do you have some other idea for a course of action?
I think skinny dipping in the moonlight sounds like fun, even though I'm on my own.
So you're going to leap straight into the lake, skinny dipping in the moonlight.
Yes.
Roll the dice.
Remington! It's a 5.
A 5. Remington quickly removes all his clothes, not slipping in the mud. He dives straight into the lake, noticing that it was just deep enough to prevent him breaking his ankles on the bottom of the lake, which was a stroke of good fortune there, almost as if he'd just rolled a 5. The light from behind the rock turns towards his naked body, lighting him up for all to see, potentially, were any eyes to be watching from within the woods. As Remington scrubs the stench of depravity from his body, the pool, the lake, the water seems to start to do this a little bit. It starts to fluctuate.
I hope it's the Lady of a Lake. That'd be nice.
It's twinkling in the moonlight, this water. But then bubbles start to rise up. Not flatulence-based bubbles. Far more numerous bubbles than that. And some kind of change seems to be taking place as the light from behind the rock interacts with the water and your naked body. What do you do? Do you remain in there? Do you head for the surface, perhaps?
I'm going to stay in there. I'm going to see. This might get frisky in the water. Let's see what happens.
Very well. Remington remains in the water and slowly starts to feel his eyelids getting heavy.
Oh.
Roll the dice.
There we go. Remington. Cut dice. Roll again. Remington. It's a 1.
Well, Mr. Remington slowly nods off, falling backwards into the water, causing a considerable splash. As he sinks below the surface, the water becomes still. Has Mr. Remington departed this world? No, he hasn't, because the flesh toe of Slaanesh pokes up through the water. seemingly inhaling for him. It has that power, you see. Until Mr. Remington returns to consciousness, gets back to his feet within the water. However, he is shocked as he stares down into the wonderful clear waters, seeing his reflection. Mr. Remington now has the head of a fish. Response.
Eat the head. I'm hungry.
No, your head is now the head of a fish.
Oh, my head is the head of a fish. Can I breathe underwater?
No, but you can breathe underwater with the flesh wand of Slaanesh, which is your big toe.
So I'm going to swim down into the depths of the lake. Maybe there's some adventure to be had down there.
Okay, fish head steel.
It's a boon from the fish god.
Very well. Mr. Remington heads to the bottom of the lake, feeling around in the mud. Roll the dice.
Here we go. Remington! 3.
Remington continues to forage with his hands, which are still perfectly normal human hands, not in any way corrupted. He only has the head of a fish, of course. And he feels a small wooden hatch. Do you open it? By the way, the light from the surface from behind that rock is currently shining, penetrating right down to the depths. It's a very strong light, and it's illuminating each of your butt cheeks at this moment.
Okay. What was the choice again?
Well, you could potentially try and open this wooden hatch that you found, or you could investigate that light back on the surface.
No, I shall open the hatch.
Very well. Roll the dice.
Remington! What? 2. It's a 2.
Mr. Remington heaves with all his fish-headed might to attempt to open the hatch. But in doing so, his hand slips from the greasy, watery handle, and he flies off up to the surface and surfaces, the light shining right into his large fish eyes. He sees a shadowy figure from behind the light, seemingly aiming it at him. What now, Mr. Remington?
I'll go towards the light, I guess.
Remington swims towards the light. The shadowy figure steps out from behind it, revealing itself to be rather familiar, for it resembles in many respects Remington himself. However, one of its arms has been replaced with a large tentacle.
Is it a pre-fish face, Rem? Or post-fish face?
Pre. It does not have a fish face. This looks more like you than you do right now.
I'll ask it to swap its tentacle for my foot, maybe.
Well, roll the dice to see how convincing you are.
Okay. Remington! 3.
It addresses you. Brother Remington, I knew you'd come to my lake of regeneration.
Oh, yes.
I'm afraid I cannot agree to your trade, however. You are the champion of Slaanesh, are you not, Brother Remington? How do you respond?
Yep, that's me.
Well, you see, I am the Remington champion of Zench, the Lord of Change. How do you respond to this shocking revelation? Keep in mind that last week you defeated the Slaanesh Remington and took on his title as the champion of Slaanesh.
I shall say to him, are you addressing me? Are you challenging me?
I challenge you, Brother Remington, to a duel.
I accept your challenge, lowly champion of who? Zinch or whatever. Let's go for it.
You accept the duel without finding out what kind of duel it is first.
Oh, will it be swords at dawn?
Not quite, Brother Remington. You will take me on in the duel of deformity. Bum, 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 bum,
I thought he
bum.
was going to say depravity, then I'd have a chance.
That was last week. You won the duel of depravity. This is the duel of deformity.
Okay. Yeah, I like it. Am I still underwater, by the way?
You're kind of partially submerged in the water. However, from beneath the water, a mighty beaked head emerges, almost like the head of Zench himself, or perhaps one of his greater demons. It looks down on you, having elevated itself far above you on a long, feathery neck. It looks down on each of the Remingtons, as if assessing you to decide who is worthy of being its champion. It seems to look favourably on the Remington imposter, shining the light upon you.
I shall look up at it and say, this isn't a real fish head, by the way, so don't get any ideas. It's an illusion.
It seems unimpressed by your fish head-based revelation.
Well, I shall just have to defeat your champion then, Master Zinch.
The other Remington steps foot into the water. He glides through the water with the aid of his tentacle arm, which seems to help him. He uses it like an oar to move himself towards you. You feel the earth beneath your feet, beneath the water, slowly start to shift, and you're sinking. Both of you are sinking, in fact. What do you do?
I shall use my flipper foot and just launch up out of the water.
You're saying that you will use your flesh toe of Slanesh.
Yep.
Very well. Roll the dice.
Remington! It's a 3.
A 3. Remington elevates himself above the surface of the water as his brethren continues to sink, using the flesh toe of Slanesh to keep himself upright and higher than his arch rival. Imposter Remington, or are you the imposter Remington? But the other Remington drops to below the level of the water and then emerges back to the surface. You have defeated me in the first round, Brother Remington. Very clever of you to use your extra large toe to keep yourself above the surface of the water. I'm impressed. Deformity saved you once, but can it save you again? As we engage in part 2 of the Duel of Deformity.
Ooh.
With this,
Nice.
3 maidens appear from behind a tree and walk to the edge of the lake, each one dressed like a simple villager. They take their place in a solemn fashion at the side of the lake. They are holding large, flat pieces of fabric in front of them. They do not appear to have any text scrawled on their back. Do you have any response to this?
Okay, all right, ladies.
The large bird looks down upon you and finally speaks. Squawk! Squawk! One of my sons will impress these maidens with his deformity more than the other. He who does will win round 2 of the challenge. Squawk! Squawk!
I prefer you that voice, Andy.
How do you attempt to impress these 3 village maidens using your various deformities?
I shall do a naked dance in front of them, swinging my fish head and opening my fish gullets and mouth.
Roll the dice.
There we go. Let's dance the dance electric. Remington! 4.
4. That's quite average.
Is that a reroll?
No. Remington performs an interpretive dance along to the moonlight. As the waves in the lake ripple, Remington adjusts his dance with each rippling wave on his ankle. He majestically twirls back and forth, shaking his fish head from side to side, his gills occasionally spurting water as he flaps his head back and forth. The ladies seem somewhat impressed, and they turn their piece of fabric round to reveal the number 5. All 3 of them do. All of them equally impressed. Presumably 5 out of 10.
Huh.
The mantle passes over to the tentacle-armed Remington. Let's see what kind of dance he can do as I get out my dice rolling app. Here we go. He's rolled a 3.
Yes.
Tentacle-armed Remington attempts to mimic the genuine Remington Articles dance. However, a tree root on the base of the lake becomes ensnared on his toe hair, and he falls face first onto the water in a humiliating blunder. The large bird looks down again. I am ashamed of you, my son. The women turn their cards around again, revealing the number 1. It is clear that Remington has won this round. You are victorious. My child Remington, you are the one true Remington. You are the master of Zinch. And thus, I will bless you. The other Remington starts to warp and disappear into nothingness in a poof of smoke, while echoing, no. Having vanquished another doppelganger, you look around. Suddenly, a flash of light passes across your eyes, and all around you has vanished. The lake has dried up. The maidens have disappeared. The giant bird head sticking out of the lake has also vanished. All that is different, you have suspiciously dried off as well. You look down and see that on your right forearm is a tiny little chirping bird head. Chirping a merry song. Tweet, 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 tweet. Clearly a mark of Zench's champion. And I think that is where we shall leave it for tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
Nice.
As Remington amasses his second championhood of chaos. Well, what do you think about that?
Yeah, very interesting, imaginative. I love your Life of Brian voice, Andy. It's a new character there.
You want to see the Lord of Change coming back, do you?
Yeah. Right, man, that was great. I'm so tired, man. I can hardly keep my eyes open. Right.
Well, while you're doing the outro song, I'm going to flash up some images of miniatures that were painted by people in the Andy and Rem Show Facebook group over the course of this week, or at least posted over the course of this week. So, why don't you play us a tune, Mr. Remington Steele?
You can be sure of a fish face when you go to the Forest of Rem. You can be sure of a fish face. A fish is better than a hen, but a gem is better than a hen. But you can eat a hen, but you can't eat a gem. In the Forest of Rem, in the Forest of Rem, where boys become men. In the Forest of Rem, in the Forest of Rem, in the Forest of Rem, where boys become men. In the Forest of Rem.
Caca!